We're just playing the cuts from Steve Young, and Steve wants to talk.
We got a caller on the line. Calling
Steve.
from Provo, Utah.
I don't think he's in Provo. It's the great Steve Young. It's the Hall of Famer. What's happening? How are you?
From the Peninsula, boys. No,
Nice.
you guys
How
make
are you,
good.
Stevie?
When I hear like the back and forth, I like what you said, and so I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I realized, for me, I am like everyone, feeling like, the pain of last year and wanting to get there, and like everyone jump in, everyone on board now. And so you make a good point about Trent's guaranteed money. That really struck me as a player. You don't want to be stuck like that. Now, how it gets done, is it Jed's fault because he won't pay him the money and won't guarantee it? It's bilateral. So I think I screwed that up. So I wanted to at least say that you guys came up with a take that really meant something to me. So I appreciate it.
Well, that's nice. I don't remember. Did you ever go through like these kind of negotiations when you were playing?
100%. I got a funny. You got a second? I got a funny story.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
And they can be tense, and you can feel hurt. I mean, you can really, because the dynamics are not fair in some ways, right? Because Jed and John and Kyle sit on on a side where equity values have gone up about almost $500 million a year for the last 20 years. And then the players are trying to get theirs, right? And so you make a good point, is like, who cares how they get it done? They deserve and need to get those dollars. And so that resonates with me as well. It's just contextually, you want to figure out a way where we hold the locker room, everyone understands what we're trying to get done and how much it matters in the spirit of stuff, how people go play. Because as Bill Walsh used to say, everyone needs to share an element of love for each other or respect, or that's shared common experiences is how the locker rooms, that's how you get there. And so I understand fully, and so I think listening to my comments back, it's like, yeah, Steve, that's not the full measure of what's happening here. So I especially with the Trent situation, that really means that anyway. So for me, a quick story, I was time for a contract. It was I don't know if it was acrimonious, but it was tense and tough. But you stay quiet. No one says a word, like what you're seeing right now with Trent and Brandon. No one's, you don't want nothing in public is going to make a difference. And so I was at the time with a good friend going down to the Navajo reservation with a scholarship program, and we would go down and meet with the kids in different little cities in the Navajo Nation and tell them about the scholarship program. If you graduate from high school, we can go to trade school, we get to junior college, we could, and really try to, fire them up to, kind of get out of high school. And so we were making these trips in the off season, right during these times. And so I get to this place, and I'm not going to, it was a really, really small community where some of the people were still living in thatched huts, in hoguns, kind of traditional. And so I remember being in one, talking to a group of kids about the scholarship program, and hey, and then we had a little Q&A or something, and the kid goes, hey, I hear you are on a contract situation, and here I am in this most remote place in America, probably, and it's like, yeah, what the heck, just let it rip, just let it happen. And so I kind of cathartically told everyone what the deal was.
What year was this, Steve? When was this?
What was that? I don't even remember. So the next day in the Chronicle with a byline from,
right?
Yeah, I was a 9. And the next day in the Chronicle, the byline from, I want to say Chinle, Arizona, was this kid, this industrious high schooler that said, hey, you know what? I'm a journalist, and that's the lesson, is keep your mouth shut. So there you go.
Wow. Paul Zimmerman Jr. I think it was Dr. Z. was listening. Well, one thing is, the guys today don't have another league to go to. You did have the USFL and the contract you signed there with the LA Express.
You're conflating the issue, because that was 1 year at the very beginning. It was not
right. See, the one thing I always wanted to ask you about when you I think it was when you were leaving Tampa, and you came to the 49ers. Al Davis always told me the story that you really wanted to be a Raider, and it just didn't work out. Was there ever a scenario where you were going to go from Tampa to the Raiders and not the 49ers, Steve?
No, well, Hugh Culverhouse had, who owned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Ray Perkins had come in and replaced Lehman Bennett as the coach, and Ray Perkins in my first meeting said he hated lefties and hated scramblers, and I thought that was a bad sign. And
very perceptive even then.
Yeah, so then he called me and said, we traded you to the St. Louis Cardinals. And I freaked out because it was like, oh my gosh, I mean, can it get any harder than it already is? Because we just finished the season with 2-14 against a 2-14 team who's going to get the number one draft choice. And anyway, so I called Mr. Culverhouse and said, Mr. Culverhouse, you and I had hit it off, and we had this great relationship, and I thought I was going to be your quarterback for life, and that's what you said, and and he goes, well, they got a new coach, and he wants to go in a different direction. And I said, well, at least let me have a chance to find a home that, that I could, that I'd thrive, and I'd really appreciate that. So he called it trade-off and said, look, I'll give you a week to go figure out what works best for you. And in that week, Lee Steinberg had talked to Bill, Coach Walsh, and that's where we started. He met me back at school, and we worked out, and then it all went from there. So I don't remember ever having a conversation. The only thing that ever happened with the Raiders was in '89, like a couple years in. Yeah. There was right around the draft, I got a call that said, because I was at a point where I wasn't playing. It was awkward, and everyone knows all that, and wanted to play. And so I'm sure there was efforts on both sides to see what we could do. And I got a call saying, look, you've been traded to the Raiders right before the draft. And then I never got another call. And so I guess it didn't happen. So that part, Greg, you might know more than I do about what happened.
Wow.
But
well, Lee and Al were close. I mean, they were,
right.
They talked a lot.
Yeah, no, and I think every time I saw Mr. Davis, I think he appreciated. I was an odd duck back then. Today, this is my game, right? Today's game is my game, and I would have really thrived, and no one would have thought anything of my style. But back then, you needed to find people that kind of appreciated the oddity, and he definitely did, and so did Bill. And I think that's why I appreciate both of them, that they saw through the prototype and could see that there's something else that you could do that could be profitable. And I always appreciated that from Mr. Davis.
The great Steve Young, Hall of Famer, joining us. It's Papa Lund here on the Sports Leader. Do you think this whole thing, whether it be Trent or Brandon Ayuk, because I think we've already passed the deadline, but the deadline is 13 days now. Nick Bosa came in late last year. Do you think because we're getting so close and players don't want those fines from missing games? I know Trent's accrued a lot of money. Brandon Ayuk is not going to have to pay anything because he's on that 50-year thing. But do you think because that's the deadline, essentially, that these deals will get done before that Monday night game?
We've blown through some stop signs on both sides, and they're different. I think they're both different situations. Trent's situation is very different than Brandon's situation. I tried to articulate that in a very whatever way I did yesterday, but they're different, and that's why Trent's will get done because Trent was looking for guaranteed money and the best player in the league. That'll get done. The timing of it is weird, and I guess I should blame both sides, right? Because it's like the timing's weird. Like we're gonna get it done. Brandon's situation is different, and Brandon's situation is that you mentioned it, Craig, that he saw the trade. He said he wanted a trade, then he didn't want it. So now he's kind of put himself in a spot. Like, do I want to stay? If I want to stay, here's the deal. If you don't want to stay, here's the deal. And I think I'm guessing he's just kind of waiting for someone to blink, and I didn't get the sense that that's a different situation, and that's look, every player you've got, and Greg, I think what you said hit me like a ton of bricks. Every player's got to go do what they got to do to take care of their families, and so that part, that's when I said, you know what, yesterday I was a fan. Like, I want everyone in. I want to go beat everybody. And I feel people coming from behind us, and I don't like it. And so, there's an emotional part of that, when you said that, Greg, that's why I called. It's like, you know what? He's right. I got to be very careful about this because you've got to give people the space to go cut their deals against an entity that has, again, we know the values, equity values of NFL squads. I mean, they've 20 times in the last 20 years. We got to have that context as well. So anyway, enough of that. I thought what you said, Greg, was important to me because I felt that, and I just said, you know what, I appreciate you having me back on just because.
Well, thank you. I thought you were actually calling to yell at me, so I thought we were going to have our first little sparring session now. Yeah. We love you. But let me ask you a question because, Lee was my agent for years, and I would run into both of you, and you would be, giving a speech on a Tuesday night during the football season. I'm like, what is he setting himself up for when he's done playing? I thought you would go into politics and, being a sportscaster, and you were great at it for a long time, is not the most noble profession, I must say. Now that you're done with that,
bro?
No, I know. Did you ever think with your law degree, Steve, about becoming a player agent?
No, I didn't. I've ended up in the finance world. I didn't know where the second half would end up for me. My dad always said, I always told my dream was to be Roger Staubach, and he said, that's a dream, that's 1% chance. So, or less than 1% chance. So what's the plan? And I would tell him, well, the plan is 80% chance. I'll go to college, then I'll go to law school, and then, I'll be a lawyer like you. And he said, okay, that's 80% chance. Okay, good. Because it's good to have a dream. It's good to have a plan. And he meant that all the way through. So that's how I got through law school, was basically because he kept pecking at me because I thought we were going to do the plan. I'm like, frick, the plan is the dream now, bro. We got it all set. But I think for me, no, afterwards I ended up in finance for, just kind of led me there. But I didn't. Coaching was so intense, and I really realized I loved playing, and teaching it was more frustrating to me. So I knew that I probably wouldn't be a long-term coach. And then what I would have loved to be is where John Lynch is. I think that's a fun, wonderful, challenging, incredible place to be, to influence a team like that. And he's been the best, or one of the best in the league. And so I love John for what he's been able to prove to everybody, that you can play in the league and you can thrive in management. And I think that's very meaningful.
Great stuff. Hey, Steve, we always appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate it. I listen to you as I drive around, and you guys are great. And when you're right, you're right. So, I just wanted, that was it. You guys are great. See you.
You're the best,
lefty is saying we're right, John. Wow.
That's a great Steve Young.
Second winningest left-handed quarterback in history, and we had them both in the Bay Area. Kenny the Snake Stabler was number one, and Steve was number two. And
Steve's the best,
Super Bowl
man.
champion.
He's awesome. He's really good. There's nothing to apologize for or anything like that. Not that he was doing that, but it was just, I think he brings up a great point. Is I think what it proves is we all just want this to get done. We're all fans at the end of the day, and we want it to get done.